Hi everyone, Ellen Jaffe-Jones, the Veg Coach, and today I want to focus on longevity and wellness as a lifestyle goal. It's not a quick flash in the pan. Now I always like to start my videos here with a wall of shame. 282 5K or longer age group awards since 2006, just on plants, because somebody once said to me, oh, you can't run on a vegan diet. And so being the rebellious third daughter that I am, I set out to prove the record could be done. And I was a TV investigative reporter. Those are 2 Emmys and the National Press Club Award for 18 years, doing the investigative job of my life, which is trying to figure out the truth about food. Why? Because as the youngest in my family, my mom, aunt, and both sisters all had breast cancer. There was so much breast cancer in our family that we became part of the breast cancer gene studies. And right now I'm taking you into my favorite room of the house where this all begins. And it's so important to figure out what is going to work well for you. But I grew up watching all of the diseases of affluence. It wasn't just breast cancer. My parents had heart disease and diabetes. My dad had crippling arthritis, even though he was a fabulous tennis player. And my mom both my parents were so sick and diseased by the time I had children, they couldn't lift my kids, let alone babysit them. So I always say entire generations are losing each other and don't even realize it. But we are often looking for the best diet that's going to take off the most amount of weight in a healthful way in the shortest amount of time, only to find that, like myself included, when I did the high protein diets like Atkins and the Zone Diet and South Beach, did them all, read all those books multiple times, because I just didn't want to end up with the diabetes, especially that was the first thing to go. When my sisters were pregnant, that kicked in, and then heart disease, and everything went downhill from there. I grew up by my sister's side. As she had breast cancer, she would go on to have it 3 times, twice. I was there while she was, and again, the treatment was very different then, but she just vomited her guts out as she got chemo, and I was literally at her bedside, and my brain was just going, there has got to be a better way. So what I want to share with you is not only my personal experience, but also as an investigative reporter trying to figure out where's the money, follow the money, who is getting paid off to tell you information that may or may not be true, and look at the long-term vegan doctors in particular, or plant-based, whatever word you want to throw out there, who have been doing this for a very long time. And I'm just the beneficiary. I am a nationally ranked sprinter. Just completed being sponsored in the National Senior Games for the 2nd year in a row, where I was the only woman in my 70 to 74 year age group who not only got a gold medal, but who also competed in all 7 track events. That's the 50 meters, the 100, the 200, the 400, the 800, and the 1500 meters. So 42 years, a vegan runner. Knees are fine. The physical therapists tell me they've never seen anybody so flexible, and really what I need to keep doing so that I don't end up with the broken hips that my mother and my grandmother did is not taking the osteoporosis drugs like some of the doctors want me to do, but how about you tell me to do 100 air squats every day, like my physical therapist says, and that keeps the muscles strong and your body strong so that you don't fall down and go boom and break. I actually have fallen at a couple of 5K races, and some of the doctors have said, well, if you were going to break something, you probably would have done it doing that, tripping over those tree roots and speed bumps that you couldn't see on the course because the races were so crowded. So I didn't fall because of aging, but because I'm trying to compete with 20-year-olds, and I do that pretty well. So I want to share with you some secrets today. We're going to take a deep dive into this because people are asking me. I'm getting interviewed all over the place now. The phrase that people like to slap on me is active ager, but I've always been this way. Boring is my least favorite word in the English language, and I never want to be bored. I always want to keep moving. At the National Senior Games, believe me, they're studying all of us who are showing up there and doing the hard work, and they do things like they measure your gait. And that was another thing that I was off the charts on. Balance was another thing that I was off the charts on. And as you age, these are the kinds of things you really want to keep an eye on. And the overall picture is, again, not to drop pounds, but to enjoy a big, improved, hopefully, or just a better quality of life. And for me, I never want to be on medications. I am trying to run a 5K race every weekend here in Florida, that there is one, not so much during the hot summer months, but there's one coming up this weekend, and it's probably going to be 90 degrees at the start time, but I may be one of the few 70-year-olds who actually shows up and competes. But I always want to be doing that. Not that I'm saying you should do that, but perhaps seeing somebody like me who says, look, you can defy the odds. You absolutely can. And we're going to share some things that hopefully will apply to your lifestyle. I want to share with you how 3 different things contribute to our overall health, and that is mental well-being, nutritional plans, and of course, exercise. As we look at the big picture, we call this holistic health, and that's how you tie all these 3 things in together. It's not just a single flash in the pan, or I'm going to train for, I get this question all the time, like if I boost my running, can I run in a marathon this year? Well, you have to ask yourself, have you run in a half marathon this year? Maybe a couple of them. Have you run in a 10K this year? How many 5Ks have you done last year? It takes a gradual progression, and it takes a very clear vision and plan to get to the finish line, whatever that looks like for you. Walking is a wonderful way to be able to maintain your fitness, and there are lots of studies that dog walkers have better fitness than those who don't have dogs and who aren't walking their dogs. So there are all these kinds of things. I walk 1.2 miles, that's how long it is around our block here, every morning that the weather permits, with our dog. And he is, Princess, is just right over there watching because she's just so exhausted from her morning walk this morning. But you know, we all need that to keep the blood flowing in our entire body. It's not just our heart, it's our brain. It's one of the reasons I wrote the book Vegan Sex and co-authored it with a cardiologist, is because what's good for the heart is good for all the other parts. The second part of this is mental wellness, mental well-being. So we know that when you get exercise, whatever kind it is, aerobic, especially, that the blood flows, and many runners will say, oh, we hate running. But after we've done it, we have a real rush of adrenaline during the running, and then the endorphins that kick in, especially afterwards, and everybody's all like, oh yes, this was wonderful. So whatever it is you're using to get your heart rate up, and of course the technology, I often joke that I'm a millennial trapped in a boomer's body. You know, you don't have to be a runner like me, but you can just go on the Apple watch or even your phone, and it's going to tell you how many steps a day you're taking. And if I'm at 42% of my move goal for the day, only 10% of my exercise, because I did Orange Theory yesterday, and I think I got like 200% of my exercise yesterday. And then the stand goals, those are very important. You should be standing at least a minute for an hour, most hours of the day, and that's what that's measuring. So all of these physical things actually tie into and she is licking my leg, and the cat, oh, you haven't met Princess. I mean, you haven't met Pumpkin. There's Pumpkin. They do get along quite well, actually. But when they hear me talking, they like to hang out. So all of these tie into your mental well-being. It's about blood flow. And we used to say when my kids were young, when they started being cranky and angry and temperamental, change 4 walls. And it's amazing how just physically getting up can change your whole mental well-being. You don't have to go out and run a mile, just change rooms. All right, a longevity diet. What does that look like? Well, for the best way to show you, I'm going to open the fridge, because I didn't go out and buy anything special. I knew I was going to be doing this video, but I figured, you know, I'm just going to show you what a day in the life is like here with an active ager, somebody who is really trying to focus on wellness and living life to the fullest. That's always what I've wanted to do. So yes, you may notice we have 3 containers, or is it 4? Yes, we have 4 containers of peanut butter. Now, peanut butter is something that, when I say we, it's my boyfriend, who's 15 years younger than me, and I, when we are on the road, we will take this, pick some up somewhere. So if we don't always finish it, then it comes back. But generally, I do try and buy organic. You don't have to. It depends what your wallet will allow. This one is also peanut butter. It's a peanut butter spread. So, you know, sometimes my boyfriend picks up things. He is not an avid label reader like I am. And yes, this is not something I bought because it has palm oil in it. And I don't care if it's organic. I don't buy that. So, and here's another thing I'll show you. Again, this is not a perfect life, and I don't necessarily, you know, I'm just glad he's a vegan runner. I mean, I am more than glad. I'm ecstatic. And self-taught vegan, too. How cool is that? But he will pick up things like this. He wasn't feeling too well a few weeks ago, and so he got some strawberry lemonade. Now, it is fruit, and so he gets excited about that. But, you know, for me, we had a hurricane scare a few weeks ago, so we have some bottled water here hanging out. But generally speaking, I am a eat foods in their natural state. So that is going to be like zucchini. That will go in probably to some pasta dish I will make. Now, every once in a while I do pick up the faux cheeses, but they are vegan. But more importantly, you know, I'm keeping the veggies on hand. There's spinach, And here's some kale that desperately is screaming to be used in a smoothie, and I will do that sooner rather than later. Got some Napa cabbage going on here. This has probably been in the fridge, I'm guessing, at least 2 weeks, and look how fresh it is still. So this can go in a stir fry. It's even got a hole in the bag. But you know, cabbage is part of the cruciferous vegetable family, and that's just such a good, the cruciferous vegetables are very good at helping to prevent cancer. So that's just another thing we have going on. And I always try and keep a big pot of brown rice or quinoa here. And again, this is probably pretty old and I may need to finish it today. I also use pots that are, this is made out of titanium, pretty expensive, but you know, I kind of always say things like cheaper than a bypass, cheaper than cancer, cheaper than disconnecting from your family members. So I sometimes spend money on things that other people, you don't necessarily have to do that. I'm just sharing with you what I do. And my boyfriend does like his almond milk for smoothies and for cereal. He likes to buy the processed cereals, you know, it's not that processed, they're flakes. I'll show you those in a minute, but like just some other things I have on hand. Tofu is not going to give you cancer, don't believe all that you hear from the folks who have money, who are trying to diss veganism and all the things that we eat and do. Those are some mushrooms that will also go into a stir fry. I like to keep different sauces around, of course, low sodium soy sauce. And here's some red wine vinegar, which I'll use for salads. And also coconut aminos, not a lot of coconut stuff in there, but enough. It's different than some of the Bragg's aminos that are not coconut aminos, just a different flavor. And other things I keep in the fridge for salad dressings, mustard, tahini, which is ground up sesame seeds, and then also for pasta dishes. My boyfriend likes the pasta dishes. I like the whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, millet, but we do keep this around so we can do pasta since that is his comfort food of choice. And again, eating foods in their natural state, grapefruit right here, right there, for when I come back from a training run and just want to get a little more hydration. Today I was on the road, so I stopped at the grocery store and got one of those plastic containers of chopped up melon and strawberries, and that was just very satisfying. And if you can buy the whole fruit, awesome, knock yourself out. But it does take some planning and work to do that. So, you know, my diet I used to be very methodical. I used to weigh things, I used to measure things, and even, you know, Dr. Greger has the Daily Dozen, but how many of us actually open our phone apps and look at that? So I do try mentally to keep eating at least 7 servings of fruits and vegetables, up to 9 if I can do that. I like a big salad, and I'm happy to throw something together that involves some of those greens that I showed you. The main benefits of a plant-based diet is that we generally don't get inflammation. So no arthritis. That's one of the reasons I continue running through my 70s. Many of the women who used to beat me like crazy 10, 15, 20 years ago are not even running anymore. And part of it is you can Google this and get a very detailed explanation. Even mainstream organizations like the Arthritis Foundation say if you want to reduce the symptoms of osteoarthritis and even other forms of arthritis, for whatever reason, animal protein lodges in the joints and causes inflammation, so dump the animal products if you're trying to reduce your arthritis symptoms. And I don't have any arthritis. I mean, it's all like working, and that's one of the reasons I can have such flexibility at this age and continue to run the way I do. And again, why when I tell people I've been a runner for 42 years, all of a sudden they have a medical degree and go, "Oh, your knees, they must be falling off." And I go, "My knees are just fine." And everything else. So to run a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, you gotta be not feeling too much pain. So it is this quality of life that really allows you to have the kinds of goals, and maybe you pick them for yourself. Is it to be available, to be present in a way like my parents never were for my kids, if I'm ever so lucky to have grandkids. But my daughter just recently got married, so it was important for me to be physically able to get on a plane and travel across the country to go see all of that happen. So I want to be present in a way that often is kind of discounted for seniors, you know, that we're going to be in the rocking chair. Don't even have a rocking chair. So my best anti-aging tips are that you don't have to stress so much. It doesn't have to be that complicated. So just to give you an idea, because I am always on the run, I do soups like this, especially in hurricane country here. You just add boiling water, let it sit for 10 minutes. Here's another soup. I add this to my brown rice and quinoa to flavor it up, or I will drink it straight like that, add some fresh veggies. And there are all kinds of ways you can flavor your grains. I got this at some Veg Fest. Inner Flame, it's called. It's some kind of curry. I sometimes will make sushi on my own, not with fish, but you can slice up carrots and celery and avocado, put that in there. I showed you the brown rice I had. So if you don't want to eat plain rice, you can add canned beans. You can cook the beans from scratch. I do that. You can add salsa. I always have some kind of salsa around because that is my go-to for brown rice and beans. If I'm in a hurry, if I know I'm going out somewhere where it's not going to be vegan friendly, I'll take a cup or so of that, or half cup, just to kind of fill me up so I know I'm not annoyed with the non-vegan food that I'm seeing. So we all eat for emotional release sometimes, especially in stressful times. So how do we deal with that? Popcorn, for me, and maybe that works for you. This is actually, I got this at the local Amish store, not organic, but it says non-GMO. You know, we can stress about a lot of things, but if we've made it this far, we're probably doing pretty good. I remember at the nursing home, my dad, when I opened up the drawers, he like had this hoarding of Snicker bars. And I asked the nurse, I said, what's up with this? And she said, when people age, especially if they're not in good health, they lose everything. Not only their memory, but their sense of smell, their sense of taste, and the things that remain are salt, sugar, and fat. So they're eating all that junk. And I'm going like, oh, please, no, not me. That is not going to happen to me. So all kinds of convenience things, artichoke hearts in water, you can throw those in a salad. And of course, there are all these convenient packets now. I mean, I really much prefer cooking from scratch, and if I have the time to do it, but Seeds of Change has been around for a long time. I actually used to have an organic garden, and they started out selling seeds, organic seeds, non-GMO, and I would use those, and now they've just blossomed into this huge company. And of course, you know, there are all different kinds of ethnic choices you can make about foods. Another big anti-aging tip: drink your water. Get one of these ginormous containers. This is 40 ounces, so 2.5 of these, that's 100 ounces, a gallon a day is what I try and drink. Nature's fast food, instead of those Cliff Bars that I really am trying to wean myself off of. Bananas, put them in a smoothie, eat them when you're having that craving. And of course, you know, coffee, love, hate. It definitely helps you speak more eloquently, makes you more focused, and there are studies on all over the map on the benefits or not of coffee. But in terms of aging, coffee, alcohol, it dehydrates, and it can put bags under your eyes. So if you're not drinking enough water, especially to counteract the effects of caffeine, you can end up, your wrinkles will be more predominant, and you just got to keep drinking water so that you've got fluid, good fluid, in your face and everywhere else. So prevention of disease. Okay, a vegan diet is not a guarantee. Running is not a guarantee that you're not going to get cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. I know plenty, mostly in the running community, who are not vegan, but I have known a couple of women who had the breast cancer gene, went vegan in an attempt to try and stop it, and it didn't work. And in 2 cases, I know vegan women who eventually died. Did they have a longer life because they went vegan? Who knows? All I know is that the quality of my life has been greatly enhanced by going vegan. And it's not only the physical component, but it is the emotional component. There are so many movies out there that talk about the environmental impact of what we are doing by the United Nations. It says the number one thing we can do to reduce our carbon footprint is not give up any kind of form of transportation. But getting rid of animal agriculture will do more than giving up any kind of vehicle you're driving. It doesn't matter if it's a Prius or a Tesla. Giving up animal agriculture is the number one thing you can do. Why? Because cows, in particular, emit a lot of methane. Saw a fabulous movie. It's been out for like 8 years already, but just saw it for the first time, called Racing Extinction, put on by this vegan, or produced by this vegan race car driver. Fabulous movie. But they actually put bags on the backs of cows to measure the amount of methane they're expelling. So when you see that, when you see that the planet warming is melting our permafrost and that is releasing methane, there is so much we can do 3 times a day to wean ourselves of animal products. And there are lots of tasty options here. And you know, the emotional side of knowing that you are not only killing an animal, you are not killing an animal to be on your plate 3 times a day, but you, more importantly, you are not paying someone else to do what you personally would not do, which is slaughter an animal to be on your plate. So the emotional part of that is huge. And trying to not be part of the problem is huge. And these are all the kinds of things that I think will help you to live a long life, have incredible wellness goals, and whenever you live your last day, you can say, it's been a life well lived. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of this. I am passionate about helping people avoid the pain and suffering that I believe was, for the most part, completely preventable in my young years and in my older years. It's why I do what I do. So if I can help you in any way, or if there are topics you want to see covered, please drop them in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, everyone, gotta run.